Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you be here today for our Summer Insights series. We've had a ton of amazing guests throughout the summer, and today is no different. We are here with Geraldine from Community Boost, and we're super excited for this session, Geraldine, as it's about what all nonprofits are working towards this year-end giving and how to make that successful, how to make that campaign successful. And so we are going to let you kick it off right now, and I will monitor the chat. And then at the end, we will have questions if anybody has any. All right, go for it.
Yeah, wonderful. Hi, everyone. So nice to be on here with you today. I can't see you, so I would just love for you to pop into the chat and share where you're joining us from today, just to get a feel of who's in the crowd, maybe your organization, state. Okay, maybe, I don't know if I could see the chat, so maybe that was a bad idea. We'll just,
Keep moving.
Yeah. All right, so I am Geraldine Zamora. I'm an account director at Community Boost Consulting. We are a digital marketing agency that works specifically with nonprofit organizations. I have a background really in everything and anything nonprofit related. I got a master's degree at USD in nonprofit management and business management, and have really focused my time on how to really capture a user, push them down a funnel, and get somebody from that first inquiry to that final step of, ideally leaving you their entire will and estate. So what does that process look like from start to finish? A little bit more about us. We exist to empower social ventures changing the world. So we work with organizations all around the country as well as all around the world. We work with over 500 nonprofit organizations. We've supported over 200 plus nonprofits via our accelerator. We've generated over $50 million in revenue for nonprofit organizations. And we'll talk a little bit more about the the Nonprofit Marketing Summit a little bit later, but we've had over 50,000 registrants for that, and just so much success come from the Nonprofit Marketing Summit. We work with organizations such as Cancer Research Institute, Souls for Souls, several humane societies, ICFs, Goodwills, you name it. And we've probably tapped into it at one point in our lifetime. So today we're going to be focusing really on the marketing funnel from a perspective of year-end fundraising, right? Because it's August, we're ready to hit the ground running, and the cultivation process starts now. It really started back in January or even last January, because it's always continuous traffic that we're trying to cultivate to get to make those donations. But for the purpose of today, let's just pretend you're starting off. After this phone call, you're going to go in and create a year-end fundraising plan. So before we hit that, just a little bit of an overview of how 2022 fundraising went. And of course, this is one source. I'm sure if you look, into several sources on the internet, you'd find different numbers. But overall, there was an increase in giving in 2022, despite perhaps being in a little bit of an economic downfall for the past couple of years, just as an economy. The giving and inclination to give has still been on an uprise. It grew by over 12.1% over the past year. More than 45% of donors were enrolled in a monthly giving program. 41% of worldwide donors gave in response to natural disasters or to immediate need. We had the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. We had several other urgent matters through the past year, an entire global pandemic, where it's really just driven people to give and to donate. And then 30% of annual giving happens in December, with about 10% of all donations coming in during those last 3 days of the year. So how do you build that urgency for those last 3 days to really get people to buy in? And why do people buy in, right? Like, why are they interested in supporting during this time of the year? So your current strategy might look a little bit like what's on the left here. You're maybe a little scrambled trying to figure out how to approach year-end giving. And what we want it to look like is at least slightly closer to what's on the right. And it's okay to take the steps and have the support that you need to get to this right-hand side of the page. But really, we want to make sure we have a process, we have a plan, so that we can really execute and target the users and the donors and everyone else who we're trying to share our message with and who we're trying to get to take an action. So a little bit on why do people give? When you're sharing your story, when you're writing your ad copy, when you're creating that campaign, who are the different personas that you're speaking to? And if you only have one message, you're doing it wrong, because people might be giving for different matters. There are people who like to give because they feel inclined for more urgent needs. I actually, I admit I'm one of those people. When I see like the Humane Society, we rescued 500 dogs, we need immediate help, or I'm like, oh my goodness, let me, tap in and give a donation. But then I also have organizations, and just disclaimer here, they're probably all animals, but that I give to on a monthly basis, because I love the work that they do and I love what the impact that I can make, and even just, feeding my little pig friends up the road at a local San Diego farm. So really, when you're looking at building these campaigns, how do you create that emotional connection and that appeal with every single person that is seeing your content? So some people might be giving because of that compassion and empathy, or belief in the cause, or a personal connection to the cause, right? Maybe they went through something similar that your organization is supporting, or they have a sense of responsibility because perhaps somebody in their family or a friend went through something similar. Or social influence. It really has become kind of this culture of giving, where if you're not fundraising, if you're not creating a donation fundraising form on your Instagram, what are you doing? How are you supporting? How are you making a difference? It's not just okay to just work anymore, right? It's like, what goes beyond that, and how do you make impact beyond that? And then there's the very cold and blank tax benefits. Some people truly do give because there are benefits for standard deductions. And then legacy and impact, and just the feelings of gratitude and giving back, personal fulfillment, and then sometimes religious or spiritual beliefs as well. So we'll talk about, why do people give, but then now it's how do we get people to give? So knowing that there's all these different personas that might be inclined to give for different reasons, how do we actually capture them? So some of you may be aware with the digital, or know about the digital marketing funnel. So this is really taking a look at, from the very top, from the first moment somebody sees your organization on an ad, or sees a YouTube video, or just happens upon it in some sort of way, a display ad, a paid search inquiry. However they get there, that's not the last step that they are going to take, right? Ideally, they might never go back to your organization again, but that's not what we want to happen. We need to cultivate them. We need to acquire that user, both with data. If you don't have your Facebook pixel on your website, go get that, go Google it after this call and get that on there now. So we're acquiring them with data. We're then taking them internally and cultivating them, sending them an email, a welcome series. How did they opt in? I always use the example of, during, I would say like 2020, there were all these fires, and I'd volunteered to take on maybe some of the pets that were at shelters that had to be evacuated during the fires. And nobody ever reached out to me, but then I got funneled into a monthly donation series, and it just felt really cold. I'm like, I didn't ask to be in this specific email funnel, right? So really cultivating them based on how they opted in. And then from there, that conversion funnel, how do we get them to actually go to your site? Ideally have a very seamless conversion process, 1 to 3 clicks max, AI that's speaking to them directly at their giving capabilities and giving levels. And then from there, retention. They donate once, maybe $10. Our next cultivation piece is, can you make that donation a monthly donation? This whole funnel from top to finish takes time. It takes quite a long time. It's typically 7 to 8 touch points before somebody even decides to take that final action. So within those 7 to 8 touch points that you're having, they need to be meaningful, they need to be concise, and they need to ultimately get to the point of what it is you're asking. So with the awareness piece, there are several ways that you can approach that, several cost-effective ways as well. One of our partners, Shanti Bhavan, is using YouTube to promote awareness and promote traffic to their site. And they have really compelling stories. They have these cute little kids that they're supporting. They have testimonials. It really does grab that individual's attention in skippable in-stream ads. And on YouTube, you can run ads and really cast your story for not a lot of money. You're paying maybe like 0.05, 0.06 per view. And for every single person that watches more than 5 seconds or clicks through to your page, you're getting hundreds of free impressions. So that's kind of just a soft, you're not asking for anything. You're just like, hey, look at us, look at what we do. We exist. Go to our website to watch more, or you can just skip and we'll hit you another way, right? The moment they watch that video, we're going to capture that data, capture that information, and then move them over into, let's say, Meta, showing them our Meta ad, showing them Instagram ads. It's all layered. It's all omni-channel. You always want to A/B test how you're getting people to your site, because as I mentioned, there might be different compelling ways and different reasons people are getting to your site or why they're interested. So one of your videos might be more urgent. Hey, we have this appeal, we need your immediate support. One of the videos might be just learn about us, view our site, and learn more about who we are. So how are you sharing your story and getting traffic to your site? That's a question that I think I want all of you to think about, right? Is how are we building that foundation, that fundamental base of what I call building a home? You want to build that foundation first. You want to lay out the ground floor before you build the walls, before you build the ceiling. Everything has to kind of be layered. So when we think about sharing your story and getting traffic to the site, that includes SEO. You want your organic content to be strong. You want people to be able to search a variety of keywords, and you want your website to pop up. You want people to be able to go on YouTube, or maybe they're shopping, or maybe they're reading the news and a display ad's following them around that entire journey. So there's different ways that they're continuing to engage with your content. That's really leaning into traffic and awareness. Then we move into acquisition. So what does that mean? Typically, just having one more touch point where they might inquire and get to know you a little bit better. So oftentimes that can be lead generation ads. Maybe they want to come in and volunteer. Maybe you're hosting a really fun event that they would love to attend, whether it's free or, it has a price to it. Just one more touch point on, hey, just get to know us a little bit better. That can also be achieved through ads. It can be achieved through an email marketing series. It can be achieved through conversion design and pop-up elements. With pop-up elements, we're wanting to capture their information. We don't want this to be that 1990s, like you have a virus feel. We want it to be very intentional. So when they get to your site, can that pop-up element pop up after, let's say they've maybe gone from the home page to a different page, or they've spent a few minutes on the site? Then we know that they're interested and that there's a little bit of buy-in. From here, they've opted in. Let's cultivate them. Let's send them that email welcome series. Let's send them more about who we are and what we do. So the cultivation piece is probably the most important, right? Because I had mentioned that example of the Humane Society of where I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to volunteer or want to volunteer to take an animal, but I'm not being pushed through in the right email marketing series. And we never want anybody to have that type of feeling. And I'm sure there's people who kind of get funneled in to just a general welcome series, but it's important that the automations clearly follow the user's journey. So with that said, creating the email automation map, how a user opts in. Do we have them, did they click on the learn more and volunteer, or did they click on learn more, no action? Do we put them through a donor transformational series? Do we put them through a volunteer transformational series? The map grows and grows and grows, and this can get very, very tangential, but it's really with the intention of having every single trigger be meaningful. And if your triggers aren't meaningful, then you're just adding more junk mail to somebody's inbox. Even if I care about the organization, and even if I care about the mission, this email is still irrelevant to what I asked for. I'm probably going to ignore it. So just making sure that there's intentionality here behind your overall email cultivation and maps and triggers. And then from here, the asks can be a little bit more direct, right? And sorry, this little ad here on the left is blurry, but it's asking you to sign up to learn more. Maybe come tour the ranch here on the right-hand side. Maybe sign up to receive updates. You can ask them to follow your Facebook page and to give you a like, or to share you with their friends, like share the ad with a prospective person who might be interested. So it's still kind of a soft ask, but you're getting a little bit more into that bottom of funnel of having them take a more meaningful action. Then we move over into conversions and retention. So the bottom of the funnel here in conversions and retention is entirely critical. And I would say one of the biggest mistakes that I see nonprofit organizations make is that they don't optimize their website for what's actually going to convert well, or they have a giving platform that's outdated. I have to fill out my, home address, my social security number, my 5 last places I've lived in. It just gets very convoluted. You lose people at about 3 clicks. Everything has to be fast, has to be to the point. And the moment it doesn't feel that way, we can actually see it on the back end. We can see how many people actually made it to the donation page and how many people bounced out of the donation page. And that's telling us there was that initial interest. People wouldn't just click on a donation page just to click on a donation page. What happened in that process that led them to not, take that ultimate step? So as you're kind of viewing this, thinking through, let me even just experience it as a user. Go to your organization's website, click on donate. How long does it take you to create that or to make that donation? How long does that entire process take? And if it's more than a few clicks and more than about a minute, I would say the drop off is very, very high. And also, how are we using AI and data to inform the way that we ask for money? A lot of platforms these days will actually give a user an amount that they're going to likely be able to give at. And that's based off of several affinity categories on the back end of how have they given in the past, potentially how much income do they have, what information can we gather about spending habits that would make us propose the specific number. So for me, might put me at like a $50 range. If my mom or dad went on, it's going to use age. It's going to use job experience as a factor to then say, this person might be able to give at $100, right? So all these different metrics that really actually play a part of that final conversion process. So I don't know if I'll be able to see answers to this, but how many clicks does it take for someone to make a donation on your page? Amanda, I don't know if you can see these.
No, I can't right now.
Okay.
You want to tell us? You're keeping us in suspense.
No, I wanted to know, from the from the users here, like how many clicks it actually takes for them to get to the donation page or to make a donation. So just going back to if it is more than 3, and if there are more steps than just that first name, last name, email, credit card number, it really is going to dilute and lessen the amount of donations that are coming through. So there's several resources that you can use to start looking at how people are interacting. Heat mapping, super easy. It's a great tool to be able to see where people are clicking, how far are they scrolling down. There's tools like Crazy Egg that we use internally to be able to say, hey, after the third of the fold at the very top of the page, you're losing most of your users and your donation button is actually below that fold. What would happen if we moved it up higher? If we moved it to the left-hand side of the screen, we see that people are clicking on this image that isn't hyperlinked. Then you start making informed decisions of where you place things on your site and how you place those call to actions to get people to donate. So another critical piece here is oftentimes organizations will build a website and they won't optimize it. It was built maybe back in like 2001 and somebody built it and kind of set it and forget it. And you're just like, well, hope this works for the rest of the organization's lifetime, right? And that's just not how it works. I would guarantee you if I could see the chat here, or even just after this, feel free to email me. If I had your organization's URL and you haven't been doing SEO work and the site was built ages ago, it's going to continue tanking because that's just not how this works. It has to be up to date. It has to be kept up with what is needed, what's urgent, what's current, right? So this example here, I wanted to share just because I think it's incredibly important to, during year end, have this feeling of community that a lot of people do go for when they're making a donation. So when you're asking for donations during year end, what can they be a part of and how can you make them feel a part of something that is going to propel them to give? So with ICF, little kind of case study information here, we had started a monthly giving campaign and they didn't have a club. They didn't have a community of monthly donors. We launched the campaign. It did okay, maybe a few donations. And I'm like, okay, something's going on here. We need to make this more cohesive. We need to tell a story and we need to have different ways that people are going to be compelled to give for all of the different missions and areas that your organization supports. So this organization specifically supports children. It supports environmental causes, So there's a variety of ways that I can speak to people. And we had different placement cards. We have different ways for them to actually select, I want to support this environmental fund, or I want to support the children in Mexico who have been impacted by COVID, or I want to support people in Southern California who, don't have food. Whatever it was, they had different ways for people to engage, and not everybody's going to want to give for the same reason, right? Some people might just want to donate to overhead. It just depends on what they're feeling and how they are feeling compelled to give. So this example here is showing why give monthly, what's the benefit here, and then what will you receive once you join this membership, once you join this club. You don't always have to give people things, but if it's easy, if it's low-hanging fruit, you have stickers, you have maybe early insights to an annual report, it's a very easy hook to have somebody feel like they're a part of something. And then ultimately, what do you do, and why should I support you, and why should I care to support you? This is more, I would say, evergreen and content that you could really push during year end, but also content that you could push throughout the entire year and continue layering and building upon. This one's a little bit different. So this is an example from the peak of COVID, where really a lot of people in Southern California, in Mexico, did not have the resources that were needed to survive and make it out of this pandemic. It came down to basic needs like food. It came down to toiletries, money, and we launched this urgent campaign just based on the urgent need. So this is speaking to that user who might say, wow, there really is a critical need in the world right now. I might not have a lot of money, or maybe I have a lot of money. I'm going to give whatever I can in either way to support this urgent fund. And we saw that, when we actually created an intentional landing page for this with intentional giving reasons of how you can help. And you could see here in the middle of the screen, these different placement cards actually gave them quantifiable amounts of, $10 would provide a meal, $50 would provide XYZ. So they were able to see exactly what their money would do and how they would make a direct impact. So a few examples here of year-end conversion ads. Year end, you kind of just go all in. People expect to be asked for money. Normally, we're kind of subtle, like, hey, make a donation if you'd like, or hey, go through this series and see if you're interested in volunteering or signing up for our newsletter. Year end, we're just like, we need money, donate. This is critical. The time is now, because it works. A few examples of ad copy here. Some of it is based around Giving Tuesday. Obviously, Giving Tuesday is a very convoluted, very high giving, high traffic day on the internet. So making sure you're using compelling content, videos are always my go-to, because I think that's just how you get to sharing your story in a very concise but impactful way. And it doesn't have to be a fancy video. A lot of organizations I talk to say, well, we don't have a videographer. We don't have people to build content for us. Videos these days are people on their phones just taking a selfie video and posting it on TikTok. And that's the kind of content people are used to seeing now. So if you just have somebody sharing a testimonial or somebody sharing your organization's story, that can go a long way. Don't get deterred by not having the high tech. And then the one in the middle here is a little bit more of a heartfelt one, right? So this might be pulling at more of those heartstrings. It's, clearly a little baby who is in critical care, and you could see the actual engagements on these ads, and kids, animals, really anything that's like the planet always does well on just advertisements, because it is critical and it is of urgent need. And then on the right-hand side here, one of our partners, Performing Animal Welfare Society, really leaned in on the heavy urgent need for support for the animals that they care for. And all of these ads, all of these organizations had a very impactful year end, because they really were able to play on every single reason as to why somebody would make a donation, and really make it worth their time investment to support the organization. With that said, we never run year-end campaigns without gratitude ads. We always finish off year end with taking those lists of people that have donated. Even if they didn't donate from one of our campaigns, we ask the organizations for the email list, first name, last name, email, and we put that into Facebook, into Instagram, and we run actual thank you ads. these ads tend to drive donations as well. We don't ask for donations in them, but I think people just enjoy being thanked and they enjoy seeing that they were able to make a difference. And this is our January push. So it's kind of the end of the work that we do, but it really is a nice way to just kind of bring everything together and just share a simple thank you with the people that have made a difference and an impact for year end. Okay, so moving into our nonprofit marketing summit, I wanted to share a little bit of information here. We have over, I want to say it's 100 speakers at this point. We have Seth Godin as our keynote speaker. We have organizations from our own that we work with, organizations from just outside of in the nonprofit sector, really people from all over the sector that have incredible insights to share with all of you. It's completely free to attend. And the cool thing is that it's virtual, so you can attend sessions you want to attend, take a little break and do some work, and not attend sessions you don't want to attend. So would definitely encourage all of you to register, and I can send you that registration link as well. And then Tatango does have some VIP passes to hand out. So if you're interested in VIP, which allows you to have insights and access to some of our smaller fireside chat sessions, have access to all of the recordings from the summit, the decks and things like that, text give to 800-800 and they will set you up with a VIP pass.